The journey in Spring Branch ISD.
Sorry, you need to introduce yourself.
Sure, Scott Murray, Superintendent, Spring Branch ISD.
Yeah.
So the journey in Spring Branch ISD started as a reflective activity. I became superintendent in Spring Branch a little over a year ago. And during that journey, we began to look internally at ourselves. How are we really doing with our children? And we realized that some of our children were doing really well, and we were excited about that. But the majority of the children in Spring Branch ISD were not doing well. And that alarmed us. And we said to ourselves, we've got to do something. We've got to think differently. So we stumbled upon a quote by Edwards Deming that said, "Your organization is perfectly designed to achieve the results that you're achieving." Well, as a school district, we were perfectly designed to get the results we're getting. And while some of our kids were doing really well, others were not. And so we said to ourselves, we have to be different. How can we be different? Well, lo and behold, the state legislature passed a law that allowed a district to become different. And so our board looked at that law and said, you know, that's something of interest to us. And so we passed a resolution early last fall that said we would like to explore the possibility of becoming a district of innovation. At that time, our board selected a 90-member committee, and that number is right, 90 members on this committee. Students, teachers, parents, administrators, central office individuals, business leaders, elected officials, all over Spring Branch ISD, 90 people came together and began to think about what different meant to Spring Branch ISD. That group of individuals held 4 community listening sessions to go out into our community and to ask our public, if you could think differently about educating children, what would different type of thinking look like? What is different? Think really big. And so we challenged our community to think big. We took all of that feedback, and those 90 individuals began to create our strategic plan. We might call it, as it meets in the eyes of the law, that is our District of Innovation plan. And so we began to work on that. Again, engage the community. That group of people developed that plan. Then we took it back out to the community. Once again, we held 4 large public meetings and asked our community, hey, this is what we heard you say last time. This is what we've created. Tell us what you think. And so the community, once again, responded to the work of the district. And then we took that body of work and presented it to our district improvement team. And that group of individuals unanimously supported the direction of the district. And then ultimately it went to our school board. So on April 25th of 2016, our board unanimously approved Spring Branch ISD becoming a district of innovation, allowing us to do some really exciting work for children, allowing us to think different. So what did we get in our district of innovation? What are we going to do based upon what Senator Rodriguez was asking? Well, we asked for local control. We recognize as a school district that innovation and thinking differently takes more than just a day, a week, a month, or a year. It's a long journey for us. And so we said, state of Texas, through the District of Innovation process, we would like to take everything that you have to offer and bring that decision-making ability down to the community level, and then empower our local schools to think differently about how they educate their children. We have schools in the north, the south, the east, and the west, and they all serve different populations of children, and they all should have an opportunity to think differently, to innovate differently, based upon the unique needs of their children. Our Board of Education developed, as a part of our District of Innovation process, a very transparent policy development process. One that, as our board looks at innovations, the District of Innovation law allows us to think differently about. And as we think about the development of policies locally, we developed a very transparent process that will engage the community and the public in the further work and policy development of our own local community. So what are some things that we're thinking about? First of all, time. Time is one of those things that we recognize that we serve children today that 75,600 minutes when it comes to being educated in the 5th grade, that's just too many minutes. We have some kids that could run through 5th grade curriculum in much less than 75,600 minutes. While we have other children, my goodness, they need much more than 75,600 minutes. They might need 80,000 or maybe 85,000 minutes. And so we want to think differently about time. We realize that our kids need an opportunity to move at their own pace and rate of speed through curriculum. And for those children that can run, we want to give them the ability to run. Those children that need more support and more time, we want to give them the ability to have more time. And so time is one of those big buckets that we're going to explore as a district. We have 4,600 employees in Spring Branch ISD. And we recognize that we treat many of those employees exactly the same through contracts and benefits and the compensation that we provide for our employees. And our employees said, you know, let's think differently about ourselves. We want to employ great people in Spring Branch ISD. And if we could look at our people as individuals and think differently about how we develop them, how we provide their benefits, how we think about their employment, that'd be a really good thing for our people. And so we want to think more effectively. We want to think differently about our people, the 4,600 employees of our system. And our three associations, the three teacher associations, were a part of the development of this plan. And they said, absolutely, we need to think differently about our employment in our system, because we think we can do a better job if we are able to make decisions locally around our own table. And we're excited about that. So thank you for this opportunity. I want to lift up TEA. We began this journey last fall, and the first place we went was to TEA because the rules had not been posted yet, and we wanted some guidance and some thinking. And so really kudos to our agency, and I've been a part of it under two administrations. And so both administrations were incredibly supportive with our journey. We also recognize that there are some opportunities. As senators, you're going to revisit this opportunity when you come back in session. And I think there's some opportunities to make the District of Innovation even more effective for our work. One of the areas that I would push you on is, and Senator Rodriguez kind of referred to that today, is the area of finance. Simply loosening some strings so that local school districts might think even more differently about how we use dollars that come to us. And so as you create additional opportunities under Districts of Innovation, simply giving us a bit more freedom with the existing dollars that we have, that would help us innovate and create a bit differently. I would also push you in the accountability area, giving us the ability to think differently about when we assess children. For example, that little fifth grade that runs quickly through fifth grade mathematics, and I finished fifth grade math in November, well, that little fifth grader has to wait until May to take our state assessment. Well, why do we do that? Why can't we think differently about assessing children? When we have kids that run, let's make sure that our assessment and accountability system keeps up with children that run. And we have children that are a little bit slower. Let's think differently about how we assess those children as well. We want to be held accountable, but we want to make sure that our assessment and accountability system is aligned with the needs of our children. And so we would ask that you provide some assistance and guidance and flexibility as we think about assessment and accountability in our own state.
Okay, I would agree with that.
And again, I think the last thing that I would say was interesting to look at the list. We have 1,200 school districts in the state of Texas, and 30 of us, 31 I think, have said yes to this opportunity. Sometimes the way to encourage innovation is to incent innovation. And so one thing that you might consider as we improve this opportunity for districts across the state is how to incent districts to leverage this opportunity so that we can encourage divergent thinking on behalf of children in our own district. So what type of incentives might we add to the District of Innovation law that would encourage more districts to leverage this opportunity for their own children? So three things that I think might benefit not only the children and the districts that are represented here today, but the 5.2 million kids that we have across our district today. So once again, thank you for this opportunity to speak on behalf of this law, and thank you for creating this incredible opportunity for children in our state. We are appreciative.
One thing, I think the incentives for the other districts to join in, I think you guys are providing as much of that as we could doing it. You'll have a lot of school districts, the graders will be following. One other thing, you brought up loosening strings attached to fund. Can you give me a specific example of what you're talking about there?
Sometimes dollars are tied to specific allocations or specific line items. So simply adding some flexibility so that as dollars flow to districts, instead of aligning dollars to specific tasks or line items, that we have the flexibility to move dollars to different places based upon the needs of our students.
Like a block grant like we asked for the federal government?
Absolutely, absolutely.
It still isn't specific.
Give a quick example of how we.
Transportation. Money is aligned specifically to transportation, so simply the flexibility to think differently about dollars that are allocated to systems. Sometimes they're tied specifically to a program, or they're specifically tied to an incentive or a requirement, something that we have to implement. So allowing us to simply think differently. If we're able to create a different way to meet the law, and we can do it more efficiently or effectively, we can take those dollars and use them in some other capacity in our own organization.
Or, for example, you're trying to simplify the whole school funding, get away from so many little incremental things, put it all together and say, here, you figure it out.
What?
Turn back to court.
Thank you, Chairman. Superintendent, thanks for making the drive up, and I see you're well backed up by various school board members.
Absolutely.
That's fine. Here's one that I see all the time, which is Chris. Let's go down, and because you brought up a concept that you want to loosen up your financial strings. Now, like Superintendent Cabrera, he actually stated what his current testing levels were, and he's looking to improve them. So have you all done that basic, level? And really, because what I'm trying to find are performance-based outcomes. If you have goals, you're shooting for higher goals, then if we incentivize you for those higher goals, that should be a good thing. But I'm trying to understand what the goal basis, what the baseline is to start with.
So
It could be just admin cost, expense reduction, whatever. I'm trying to understand what you, since you brought it up, what ideas you have.
Our overarching goal is the system is aligned to T24. So in Spring Branch ISD, we have a goal of T24. Every child, when they graduate from high school, should have an opportunity, should be prepared for the military technical tour for your institutions. Every single child should have all of those 4 options when they leave us. But we don't hold ourselves accountable for just that readiness. We want to make sure that our children are successful on the other end of that. So we're actually measuring children, their success after 4 years of high school, after 2 years, after military, and after a technical institution. So we measure that as well. And then we have measures that we're under development that are looking down into our system, really down to pre-K.
Okay, if you're measuring them, what cohorts are you measuring, okay? And against what baseline? I'm trying to understand if we've got a testing baseline that's established, if we move up in testing results, I can see a difference and therefore an incentive. I'm trying to understand what cohorts are being measured and what are the variables.
So the big goal, in 2012, our number was 36% of our children at that point were successful after military technical 2 or 4 year institutions.
So you're
The goal in
tracking the children?
2012 was set to double that number by 2017 to 72%.
Now, that's
So
only 5 years.
And actually we're a year away.
Right, I was gonna
Yes,
say, right.
that's right. So the goals that we're establishing for ourselves right now, we'll maintain that T24 goal to make sure, again, it's really, right now for us, it's every child, but developing benchmarks underneath that that will align to that ultimate goal of T24.
Okay, now, you say 36% were successful, what does that mean?
Completion, it's
They
successful.
completed some, they've
Yeah.
got either a 4-year degree, a 2-year degree, or some technical,
Yeah.
that you can track through the system.
Yes, well, sometimes we have difficulty tracking, sometimes it's difficult to get some of that data. We're completely dependent upon others, yes.
It's hard enough to find the cohort,
Yes,
but
it
just
is.
ask the
Yeah,
question.
absolutely, yes, sir.
Now, so what you're looking at in that 5-year period, you're trying to double that success.
Yes.
Now, that's an awfully steep hill to climb. It's a wonderful thing if it's being climbed. Are you, since you're 4 years through it, how far up the hill are we at this point?
We've taken some climbs and we've also fallen back a little bit. That's part of this opportunity. In fact, the realization last year, as we looked at that number, we dropped from 44 to 42. We took a dip. And that's when we said to ourselves, we have to be different. We are not gonna hit 72 in the year 2017 unless the organization is different.
Since you're my home SBI,
Sure.
ISD, I don't want to take the committee's time, but I guess what I'd love to do is understand exactly what performance-based outcomes can be measured, and therefore what could be tied into incentives. That's really what I'm trying to find. If there's-
Absolutely.
That's the formula I'm trying to crack.
Got it.
Okay?
Happy to chat.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sir Campbell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to ask you, Mr.